All right, everybody, welcome back to TKIF Thank Campus Friday here on KEMPIREradio.com. You know, here on KEMPIRE Radio, we celebrate singers and musicians, but we really love to go behind the songs. And in our next installation of the series, we had to have this next songwriter here on the show because he's definitely one of my favorite songwriters that I've looked up to as a songwriter that I just can't believe the imagery that he creates with his songs. Please welcome to TKIF, Shep Crawford. Shep, welcome
Hey,
to the
now what's
show.
going on with you?
We're here. I'm just so excited to have you here on the show. First of all, thank you for being such an inspiration when it comes to songwriting.
Oh, it's a privilege and a blessing.
For those that don't know, a lot of people don't get a chance to really get to know the story behind the songwriters and producers of songs. How did you break into the business?
Well, I started off as the music director for Mr. Montel Jordan.
Yes.
We actually played in church together when we were kids. So when he got the deal, he called me to direct his band. I started hanging out as much as I could at the studio. I was his Nintendo buddy until he needed some keys on a particular song. I would come in and play keys every once in a while, and it got to the point where he needed me there pretty much every day to play keys. And then when he would go out of town, I would actually bring my MPC in and start actually doing tracks. And he signed me to his production company, and we started making good music from there.
Wow. What was the first song that you believe made a name for yourself?
It would be Deborah Cox, Nobody's Supposed to Be Here. And it was it was maybe my second, maybe third commercial release. But it was the big one. It was a huge record for me. It was number one for 14 weeks on the R&B chart. And it took a little minute because co-wrote it. I produced it and I co-wrote it with Mr. Montel Jordan. So it took a minute because that was the name that they kind of knew. The music industry. But when we started working with the artists and different things of that sort, I think everybody kind of found out that I was really doing a lot of producing and a lot of writing with him and without him. So it kind of started from that was the song that kind of boosted my career, if you will.
And you, Shep, those that aren't familiar, we're going to go through some of your big songs, but you write such great songs. But a lot of the artists that you've worked with are female artists. How do you get in touch with that space that so many women can connect to?
It's the name Shep actually is short for Shepherd, and that was a nickname kind of given to me because I think God has always blessed me to be a good listener and to give good advice. And between my crazy sisters and their stories and friends, I think I'm just really a good storyteller. And it got to the point because I've always written for women and men, but I think the fact that Nobody's Supposed to Be Here, was the first song. A lot of artists sent me they're female artists, and so I would tap into what I know, how they feel. I would try to find a unique way of saying what they have plainly said to me, or just pretty much being blessed to tell a good story.
How did Nobody's Supposed to Be Here come about?
What's crazy is nothing but God, and because literally I was watching I believe the Soul Train Awards, the Lady of Soul, and Patti LaBelle just did a performance, and she was singing Somewhere Under the Rainbow, and she at the end she hit amazing notes, and she threw the microphone stand down, and everybody stood up, and I said I want to write a song for her. I want to write a song for Patti LaBelle. So Nobody's Supposed to Be Here was written and produced initially for Patti LaBelle.
Wow.
Yes, and so if you listen to I spent all my life, it really sounds like her. When we throw in the lyric, this lovely black butterfly is when we're thinking about Patty when she does a little butterfly thing.
Yeah.
And for some reason she didn't hear the record. So I don't know if that meant that she listened but couldn't hear it for her, or she literally didn't hear the record. But we got a note back saying that that the record company was refusing the record. But I'm glad that it was written for her because it had all the dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
If I had written it for anyone else, I wrote it for Patty, so I thought, let's do these sustained notes, let's do these breaks, let's do, let's bring that church back. So it went through a bunch of hands, and it finally landed on beautiful Miss Deborah Cox, and the rest is history.
Can you take us back into the studio recording with Deborah Cox? I mean, she's legendary. I even saw you guys when you were doing the Queen project, and that was such an amazing concert. But can you take us back to the studio? In the studio with Deborah Cox, that voice and that song.
Yes, it's amazing because I had, I was in touch with Deborah because of the song "We Can't Be Friends." That's the song that she was scheduled to do, and when she met with myself and Montel, he played her "Nobody's Supposed to Be Here." She went to Clive and said, "I have to have that record." And so I just saw her perform on the Lou Rawls Parade of Stars, and so I knew she can conquer the record. I knew she can take it and do her thing. So she came in, and she was ready. Deborah's the type of person that is going to come in knowing all of the lyrics, knowing the song. She's going to have her water, tea, and she's going to go in that booth, and she's going to do her thing. And she did that, she actually had to come back maybe 4 or 5 times because, working for Clive Davis, it would be just one part that he wanted changed, and he'll fly her out to L.A. just to change that one part. And all the things that he gave us really worked for the record as well, too. But she's amazing. I went through all the takes that she did, and it was kind of hard to pick which one to use for the record because she got in there. She really, really, really sung the song and brought the song to life.
Definitely. And you mentioned "We Can't Be Friends," a huge song. We actually talked to RL about that song when he dropped by the show. Can you tell us how that song came about and, just a story behind that?
Yes. "We Can't Be Friends" was actually written for a group by the name of 98 Degrees.
Yes.
And it was not a duet, initially it was just a male song, for a group. Andre Harrell, I believe, who was over Motown at the time, heard the song and wanted 98 Degrees to do it with a group called Shades of Brown, I believe that name was.
Okay.
They were also signed to Motown at the time. And so I went back in and made it a duet. I demoed it off and made it a duet. They ended up not taking the song. So, again, when we played it for Clive, he wanted Deborah to do it. And then, we found out that the fact that RL, who is a, dynamite vocalist and was Deborah's label mate, that they were going to come in and do it as well, too. So they both came in and actually killed it.
One of the great things about you, Shep, is the imagery that you create with your songs. There are a lot of songwriters out there that write great songs, but there's something about the way you write a song. And Deborah's play your part. It's just so interesting how the dynamics of the imagery that you create. Can you talk about that as a songwriter? Is that an exercise you constantly are going through, or how can I say this in a different way?
Yes, it's there's so many music repeats itself. You can only be heartbroken so many times. You can only say your man changed so many times. So I always try to take what is a thing and talk about it as if it is a person. And so, can you pretend to be the man I should have been with? Can you play the part? But now when I write it, I'm going to write it as if this is someone who actually is playing a role. Can you do a better job of pretending that you really care? Or I'll have to give the part to someone else. So I think it's the constant thing of making sure I brought back theater, but still was able to say things like, can you do a better job of pretending that you really care? But then go right back to, or I will have to give the part to someone else. And so it's just a matter of I always try to stretch it and make sure. Same thing with Stranger in My House. I always try to stretch it and make sure that it's a new way of saying what's been said for years.
Yeah, most definitely. You definitely have you're probably the best person to have done that.
Thank you.
Um, speaking of play your part, I think a song that's very similar to that. The legendary Whitney Houston and Deborah Cox did the song "Same Script, Different Cast." Can you tell us the story behind that song?
It's crazy, and I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but that song came because of a fight over a song over another song that I did that both Sylvia Rowan and Clive Davis wanted. And Sylvia ended up getting the song, but that's at the time Sylvia, when she likes something, she goes for it. And I didn't know what was going on with Arista at the time. And so when Clive came back and asked for the song, it was already gone. So my manager was like, just to make up, for that, I think you better write him a smash so he can kind of forgive you.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do it. I'm a huge fan of R. Kelly. I'll be one of the producers who don't front and act like he's not an influence. He is definitely an influence. But when he did, they Be Careful with him in Sparkle.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to do a duet, but I wanted to be between two girls. And I remember, my mom playing old records between, I can't think of my girl's name right now, but where, hey, this is Cheryl, and I just want to let you know my man is such and such and such and such. So I remembered that, and I wanted to do a conversation between two women. One is the one who's being left, and the other is the one who the first is being left for. But I thought just to put two women on the record, and have them go back and forth would not, wouldn't be special.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to find a concept, and when I found that same script, different cast, meaning he's going to keep doing this to everybody. The only thing that changed is the cast. And so I did it as a conversation. So I tried to, and I wrote that with a young lady named Shay Jones and Deb Daniels, and they ended up coming in and helping me write it because I wrote it as a conversation. And so I pictured two women on sitting on a park bench, as if they met there, purposely, like, what's this about? I know he's leaving me for you. Who said that? Who told you? I tried to talk it out first, and then make the conversation really, dig into the words of the song with the melody to it. But you can really hear the conversation. Don't say no more, la 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 la. I'm not listening, la la la. I wanted that whole thing to go on. And not make it where the girl was trying to bash her or try to talk bad about her, but just trying to warn her, like, I used to be his star, and now he's going to do the same thing to you that he did to me.
So when the song was done, I mean, because you definitely achieved that your goal. When the song was done, you brought this to Clive. What did Clive say?
He said, his exact words were, I love this song. I'm still upset about the other song that got her away, but he loved the song.
And were you in the studio recording this with Deborah and Whitney?
No, actually, it was. Actually, we didn't know who was going to do the song.
Oh.
We knew that it was eventually going to be Deborah's song, but Deborah just came out with her, One Wish album, and it was doing well. So he knew it was going to be a second before she received the record. So it went through so many different people. Whitney wasn't the first person, of course. Ideally, I thought it was too far of a reach for Whitney to do the song, meaning that, me who only had a couple of hits, I get to work with Whitney, so I wasn't even thinking, Whitney. So, I was thinking, is it going to be Deborah and Tony Braxton, and is it going to be Tony Braxton and somebody else, And then finally, Clyde played the song for Whitney for her Greatest Hits album, and she loved it, and he asked her to do the duet with Deborah. And so that's how that came about.
Wow. it's so true that God can dream a bigger dream for yourself than you can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if you guys just tuned in, we're here with Shep Crawford, legendary producer and songwriter, for our Behind the Songs series. We love, love, love this, and I love the stories that you've told us so far. But there's so many other great songs that you've written, and it's so funny because when we had Tamia here on the show for her new album, I had tweeted her and I said, this song sounds like a Shep Crawford song. And she said, oh, it is. So you
Right.
did a couple of songs on her new album, Beautiful Surprise. You did
Yeah.
a bunch of songs for her Between Friends albums, but it's her legendary song, Stranger in My House, that really made to me a household name. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that song.
Stranger in My House, initially written for Tony Braxton. I don't know what happened there. I don't think she ever heard the song, but I was doing another song for Tamia, and I played Stranger in My House for her. And she called Sylvia and said she wanted to do the song. I played the song over the phone for Sylvia, and she liked it. And Tamia came back and she killed it. But yes, it was a song that was not initially written for her, but she took it and she really did her thing. Like that vocal session. I wish the world could have seen, because when she hit the house, when she hit that big note, and I'm in the studio throwing stuff at the glass like, you better sing, girl. And my engineer's looking at me like, oh my God, he's going crazy, and I'm out in the thing like, girl, you are killing this song. So she got through with the take. I got a couple of more takes just to make sure I wasn't tripping when she flew back to Florida. But I told her, come on out. We called Sylvia and we played it for her, and she loved it. And that was it. Mia really, really kicked the song.
Where did the concept for A Stranger in My House come from?
That concept actually came from, I was actually in the studio, and I had a writer's block. I was trying to figure out something to do, and I was like, I really, really want a twist song. I really, really want a song with a twist. And so everybody was telling me the movie Sixth Sense had a big twist to it. So I told my engineer I was going to the movies, and I'll be back in 3 hours, that she can go to dinner and do whatever she wanted to do. I went to go see Sixth Sense, and then the end of it just threw me. And so I went right back to the studio like, I'm going to come up with my own little twist. And, of course, I wanted the song to say that you're just not the man that you used to be. But everyone has said that. So I wanted to say, so much to the point where I don't even think it's you. And so I'm checking your shoes. I had to imagine that in my mind, that she's laying there, and she's looking at the guy in the picture frame and looking at the guy who's laying next to her and putting the picture frame up to his face to make sure that it's him. And I had to go there in my mind, almost like a movie. At the end, pop quiz, tell me where we first kissed. Tell me, this invasion of the body snatchers, like, or are you really the man that I was with? So just a creative way of saying you changed to the point that I don't even recognize you.
Damn, that's deep. In a lot of the work that you've done a lot of songs with Tamia, but another great song that a lot of the ladies relate to is your song "Me."
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and how did it end up with Tamia?
Yeah, that is the next. That's the same thing. Whereas I took, as a person talking about themselves, but actually made that a person. And so I'm leaving you, pretty much for me, when I wanted everybody that I played it for. When she says, you ask me, is there another man? I say no. You ask me, is there another woman? I say yes. Surprisingly, you ask me for her name. And everybody's thinking that, it's getting ready to turn into, maybe a lesbian relationship. And she says, and her name is me. And it just shocked everybody, I think. And then they get into the song. And, so just keeping that whole perspective of me, I'm actually waiting outside for myself. So as I'm sitting here arguing with you, I'm thinking in my head, me is actually outside at the cab saying, come on, we can't we can't stay here no longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to leave. So just a conversation about, you know, I can't love you and love me at the same time.
Definitely. You know, Shep, do you have a favorite song that you've written? Like, you know, we've gone through a couple of your songs, but do you have a song that you say, yeah, that song is my favorite song that I've written of all time?
You know, they are probably not the most popular. Of course, We Can't Be Friends has always had a special place in my heart. But there's a song that I wrote that didn't really do big, and I'm probably going to record it on someone else one day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a song called "I Showed Her."
Oh, yes.
Yes, that was on. What's the name of this group? They won the initial making of the band.
Danny DeCane.
No, it was.
Oh, no. Mm.
It was a pop white boy group.
Oh my goodness, why can't I think of their name?
I can't think of their name before the. But the song is "I Showed Her." I let my pride take me far away from the only woman I loved. I showed her. Now she has found someone new, and my life can go on. But I'm all alone. I showed her. So it's a play of words.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing about it is I sent the song to Clive, and he didn't like it. And so when I met with him, I played it as if I'd never sent it to him. And he stopped the song, called his secretary in, and told him to make copies for everybody. And he played the song again and said, I have to have this song. But the group broke up before, you know, after their first hit. I mean, after their first single, they broke up. So it was released as a second single, but they wasn't together anymore. So I always felt like that's one of the songs that I really love that probably wasn't big. And there's another song by Blue Control called "Sleep in the Middle."
Yeah, that's a popular unreleased song.
yeah, that's another one I feel like, you know, that I'm going to revive one day. You know, I'd rather sleep in the middle of my bed alone and not hurting over you. That's better than sleeping on the side, crying at night, silently watching you sleep. I'd rather sleep in the middle.
How do you,
so
how
that
do you remember all these lyrics, Shep?
You know, I like to imagine it. You know, I like to almost imagine the video before the song.
Mm-hmm. Did you always have
make
this,
people imagine it?
Did you always have this vision as a kid that this is what you would be doing?
No, actually, I didn't. Not as a kid, of course. As a musician, as a kid, you know, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be on stage and different things of that sort. But I've always loved songwriting of Lionel Richie and different things of that sort. But me growing up a church boy, but being exposed to R&B music, you know, by my mom, I got the best of both sides. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really, until I started writing songs, I didn't really, you know that I was going to be doing the right twist. I knew I would write big records, you know, big vocal records, but the twist came after actually I got in the music industry.
Wow. Shep Crawford for our Behind the Song series. Shep, you know, the Queen project, you know, with Tamia, Deborah Cox, and Kelly Price, you know, a lot of people are anticipating this project. If you could put this together now, who would you have involved? You know, with R&B divas, everyone's trying to do their own sort of Queen project, but the Queen project came first.
Right.
You know, if you could do this now, who would you have involved with it?
Well, you know, my preference would be those three.
Yeah.
Deborah, Tamia, and Kelly. I think vocally, I probably work with them the most. I mean, including maybe Yolanda Adams, but you know, her being a inspirational gospel artist. Mm-hmm. But as far as when it comes down to albums and multi-albums, who I've worked on work with for 2 or 3 albums each, would be those three. You know, I've also have been the music director for all 3 of them as well too. So that was the whole thing. It was bringing my girls, you know, together to form this super group. Yeah. So it would probably be those. But I in the last couple of years, I've really, grown to have a great relationship with Faith. And so, of course, I would have loved for Faith to be a part of anything. I've always been a fan since the beginning, since her first record, even before then, when she was kind of just singing the hooks. But it would probably, those three, Deborah Cox, Tamia, Kelly Price, are still like, and if, you add one or take one away, Faith Evans, or Layla Hathaway.
Yeah. Because I know you're very good friends with Kelly Price and, Tamia and Deborah. Has the Queen Project come up since, they've kind of had to work on other projects?
No, that's one of the things we feared going into it. We know that they all had obligations and were working on some different things. Deborah, Broadway, she was getting ready for the Josephine Baker story, which I don't believe she ended up doing the Jekyll and Hyde thing, and Kelly, was working with Warren on her last album, Kelly, entitled Kelly, and to me it was actually working on her record as well too. So I don't know. And then honestly, we couldn't really come together and get the business together like we wanted to. So collectively, musically, we were coming out with some hits. We were coming out with some smashes, but we really couldn't agree on the contract and how we were going to work the brand in time enough to get it out and work it the way we were going to work it. So we always said that we would be open to coming back and doing so. But since then, so many different things have taken off. The R&B divas, who I actually worked on their last album as well too. So it's kind of the concept, is being taken, and I don't know how special it would be now, but we always said that we would look at it a little later and see if there's something that we really want to do.
Yeah, and there were no voices like those ladies. I actually got to see them in concert when they came here in New York City.
Yeah,
it's one of the best shows that I've ever attended, and I told Tamia when I saw her after that. So
we tried to make sure that they not only came out and sung by themselves, but as you could tell, we waited to the end of the concert for everybody to do their hits, and the other two girls would sing background, and just to show the old school R&B, where one person would get up and everybody would come up and do their thing. We wanted to definitely show that. So, and their voices are so different.
Yeah.
But the style of music, is very similar. So, I thought it would have been brilliant.
Definitely. Well, we hope the Queen Project does make a resurrection, let's say. But the state of R&B music has been a question that we've asked so many different producers, songwriters, musicians here before. But what is Shep Crawford's take on the shift of that R&B music has taken over the last few years?
Well, it really started around the 2004, 2005 is when hip hop, or if you will, I think they played hip hop, but it was a lot of the easy hook, just a beat and one little piano sound. The more simpler took over, and I think it got to a point where they started calling, if something was R&B and it had real instruments in it and different things of that sort, record companies started calling it, AC, or started calling it old, and a lot of record companies, a lot of the esteemed presidents that you love, was looking for the younger sound. A lot of people was coming to me and saying, I want to give me a young song like "Stranger in My House," and I was like, "Stranger in My House" wasn't a young song. You just had the young Tamia singing it. Like. The stranger in my house now. If it was an apartment, then it's, but the person owning the house, that's grown. Grown-ups go through that kind of stuff as well too. So I would just kind of, watched as they kind of shifted the real singers and real musicians and producers to the side, and just kind of started going for more the bubblegum thing that was out. Of course, there were still a couple of people here and there that was riding through it. Alicia Keys, she was a breath of fresh air. But most of listen to the radio, it just got to the point, even radio stations that said they never play rap started playing rap. And I love hip hop, but I'm kind of the old school hip hop where hip hop was really hip hop. It was a movement. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about calling girls bees and hoes and all about getting my money and different things of that sort or whatever. But it was a movement, PMD and I'm saying, different things of that sort. I was there. So it kind of someone, an executive told me one time, R&B is dead, and I had a meeting with me, and I was surprised I was playing R&B music, and I was thinking, this is me. Like, you never know me to do anything other than real songs, different things of that sort. And kind of stopped and said, hip hop is dead. And I had another executive who I've done plenty of songs for tell me that Shep, you write great records that have no place in the hip hop world. So it was just kind of like different. You had to get out there and just survive and try to make some things happen. At the time I tried switching up my style, and of course you have to reinvent yourself. But you had to find the projects that are going to stick with it. Tamia called me about Between Friends, and she's like, I want to stick with what we do. She just come off with an album that they kind of forced her to do. So she wanted to do Between Friends. Like, let's not think about a record company. Let's not think about thing. Let's just go in and make great music, and that's exactly what we went in and did. So Definitely. It just got to the point where I told myself my integrity is a little bit, and more important to me and I think God is always going to make sure I'm okay. Yeah. And then I was smart enough to stack, some of the stuff that I was making, because I knew that I would never, not make this money forever. Mm-hmm. But got to the point where just find the projects that they're going for, and they want real music, and that's where I've been since that time to now.
Definitely, Shep. Before we let you go, there are a lot of up and coming songwriters and singers. Do you have any favorites?
I like I can't. Fiona, Melody. What's her name?
Melanie Fiona.
Yes, I like the song 4 a.m. I love the song 4 a.m. Even though it sounds like if that's a person's real, if that is really the person's situation, they need to come to me for counseling. That if they know their man is out with a dancer, and wonder why he won't answer. But I like her. I really like the type of music that she's putting out. As far as I'm really crazy excited about anyone who's coming out, and I'm not as in touch with it. But when I do pay attention, it's not that artist that I have to go hear. I have to go buy their record, whether they have a single out or not. Just knowing their voice, I'm not getting a lot of that. I will say that a lot of people are shocked that I'm saying this, but I love Rihanna's voice. I've fallen in love with her voice. It's just something about it. When I hear it, I want to turn up the radio, and I love that whole little island thing. No, she's not Deborah. No, she's not Whitney. She doesn't. But her tone of her voice, I love it. Some of the subject matter that she come up with is a little dark, but I do love her voice.
Yeah, she definitely has a unique tone to her, and the minute you hear it on the radio, it's Rihanna.
Yes.
Well, Shep, we appreciate you taking time out to be a part of our series Behind the Songs here on KEMPIRE Radio and TKIF.
Oh, no problem.
And we hope that you'll come back. What's going on with the future? Any other projects that you're working on that we should be on?
Well, I don't know if you know now. I don't know if you know that I'm pastoring.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I'm pastoring, and so that's really taken off much quicker than I thought it would. We started in 2010, October, and we're already at 2 services a Sunday because God has really flooded the people with a lot of, and it's crazy because in my services you will get a lot of R&B music. description in my sermon. You know what I mean? So I will I preached about marriage, and at the end of it, we sung "Let's Stay Together." Everybody held hands, and I prayed after that, and people came down the aisle to get saved. So R&B have always followed me. There's a couple of things that I'm working on right now as well. Of course, I'm really, Kelly's my girl, so whatever she does, I'm getting down with her. There's some things coming out with the with some of the divas that we're working with as well too. But my main focus right now is kingdom work and making sure that I'm at a point in my life that I do what God needs me to do.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much, Shep, for taking the time out to do this, and we are excited for more of the music.
Thank you. No problem at all.